There's an old Hasidic Jewish story about a rabbi who needed to travel to a certain village, so he hired a horse, a wagon, and a driver to take him there. And as the rabbi and the driver were making their way along the road, they came upon farms on both sides of the road filled with fruit trees and orchards positively dripping with succulent fruit. When the wagon driver pulled the horse to a stop and said, "Rabbi, I'm going to climb over that fence and steal some of that fruit. Now, you sit here and keep a lookout for anybody coming. If you see anybody, let me know." So the driver hopped out of the wagon, and he had just plopped down on the other side of the fence when the rabbi shouted, "Someone's watching!" So the driver immediately leapt back over the fence, scrambled in the wagon, got the horse moving again. Two of them traveled on down the road, but there seemed to be no end to the luscious orchards around them. Finally, the driver stopped the wagon once more, and he said, "I'm going to try this again. Now make sure I'm not seen." Shimmied over the fence as before, and just like the last time, the rabbi shouted, "Someone's watching!" The driver looked puzzled. He looked up the road, he looked down the road, he didn't see anybody. He looked across the orchards, he didn't see anybody there either. He said, "Rabbi, I don't understand. The road is deserted. I don't see another human being for miles, but every time I try to grab some fruit, you tell me someone's watching. What's going on?" And the rabbi said, "Someone is watching." Whenever I get to the Advent season and read again texts like Jesus' words in Mark 13, I feel like that driver trying to grab some fruit. Someone is watching. I'd better mind my P's and Q's. I better sleep with one eye open. Someone's watching. God is watching. So Jesus said, "Beware, keep alert, for you don't know when the time will come. What I say to you, I say to all, keep awake." Sounds like a threat, doesn't it? I mean, I better be watching just in case God shows up when I have my hand in the cookie jar. I need to be alert, attentive, vigilant. God is watching, so I must watch. But what if Advent's call to watch isn't so much a warning as it is a call to open my eyes and open my mind and open my heart to what God is doing in my life and out in the world? What if watching means being aware of a God who is not bound by my understanding, my expectations, or the world's rules? What if Advent is really a time for watching out for God to do something surprising, maybe even startling? I don't know about you, but I get so blinded by Washington, Wall Street, Main Street, and Hollywood that I often forget I serve a God of endless possibilities. So what if Advent's call for me to watch is like God saying, "Look at this, watch this. You think a baby in a manger was something? Well, you ain't seen nothing yet. Keep your eyes open." You see, Jesus knows that despair is the ultimate presumption we can make in this life. Despair assumes there is nothing God can do with my mistakes or with the cards I've been dealt in life. And who am I to claim that kind of certainty? Jesus tells us to watch not because He wants us to be afraid, but because He wants us to trust in a God of endless possibilities, a God for whom a miraculous baby in a manger is just a start. When Christmas is over, God says, "Keep on watching now. You ain't seen nothing yet." You know, I've never been much of a chess player, but I recently came across some statistics about chess that absolutely blew me away. Did you know after each player in a chess game has moved a piece just once, there are more than 400 possible moves each player could make on that chessboard? After 2 moves, there are 72,084 possible moves on the chessboard. After 3 moves, there are more than 9 million possible moves. And after 4 moves, just 4 moves on a chessboard, there are more than 288 billion other moves that could be made. So in a typical 40-move game of chess, there are more possibilities on that chessboard than there are electrons in our universe. So if the possibilities in a chess game are so incalculable, what makes us think God is stymied by any problem we face? The possibilities are endless. At this time of year, we celebrate the miraculous birth of Jesus, but God says, in the grand scheme of things, that's sort of puny. You ain't seen nothing yet. But you have to watch. You have to be aware. You have to be open to moments that don't fit your categories or your preconceived notions. What I say to you, I say to all, keep awake, be aware, keep your eyes wide and your heart in tune. Watch. You ain't seen nothing yet. I know most of you have heard this next story, but it's one of my favorites, so I'm going to tell it again. It comes from Robert Fulghum's book, All I Need to Know I Learned in Kindergarten. Fulghum was serving as a minister of a Unitarian church, and he was entertaining a room full of children in the church fellowship hall, and he decided to teach them how to play a game called Giants, Wizards, and Dwarfs, which he says is sort of like paper, rock, scissors, but on a much grander scale. Plus, it requires a bit of intellectual ability because, you see, each child has to decide whether he or she is a giant, a wizard, or a dwarf. Well, Fulghum got the energy level up to critical mass. The decibel level wasn't exactly peaceful either. And he shouted, "All right, you have to decide now if you are a giant, a wizard, or a dwarf." And as the kids zipped around the room, clumping into groups of lumbering giants and weird wizards and dinky dwarves, Fulghum felt a tug on his pants leg. He looked down, and a little girl stood next to him. She said, "Excuse me, where do the mermaids stand?" Mermaids? Yes, mermaids. Mermaids? She said, "Yes, I'm a mermaid. Where do the mermaids stand?" He said, "There are no mermaids." She said, "Oh, yes, there are. I'm one. Where do they stand?" Finally, Fulghum said, the mermaids stand here next to me, the king of the sea." More like the king of fools, he thought to himself. And so they stood there, hand in hand, watching the ruckus parade by them in lovely chaos. And Fulghum writes, "It is not true, by the way, that mermaids do not exist. I know of one personally. I have held her hand." This Advent season, watch for mermaids. You ain't seen nothing yet.